Hello, hello.
And welcome to the Hildebrand Law Firm topic for today.
I'm Kirsten Hildebrand.
And I'm Matt Kaplan.
And today we're going to talk about a really interesting question that we sometimes get, and that is, why can't we just get an estate plan off the internet? So, what about this? Do you think you can get an estate plan off the internet, Matt? What do you think?
Yeah, you certainly can. Is it going to be any good? No.
You feel that strongly about it? Then?
Well, the amount of ones off the internet that you've seen, I'm sure you've seen a bunch. Yeah. I've had so many clients that have come in and they say, "Hey, I got this trust off of LegalZoom. Can you look it? Can you look it over?" Sure. And I look it over, and here's the thing: these documents off of LegalZoom or off of whatever free website you found, some of them are fine. But the problem is that they come in and they say, "I want this, and that in my estate plan." And then I tell them, your document that you got for free or for very cheap doesn't have this, or that. Oh, really? I thought it did. Well, there's a few issues with getting stuff off of the internet. And here are 5 things that we've discovered that are some big issues. So one of the big issues of getting stuff off of the internet is these are standard documents. They're off of the internet. They're going to be very standard. It's going to be a one-size-fits-all thing. That's a lot of what we've seen, is that it's a one-size-fits-all. They don't really care about your situation because they don't know your situation.
Well, and I just want to pipe up and say that the standard documents don't look very good either. Yeah. I mean, have you ever seen how they come in and they look kind of janky? They're like they don't look like legal documents. Right. They usually have some sort of a weird font, and the paragraphs are not aligned properly, and things seem to be on a few different pages. And why do I bring that up? Because in our probate and trust litigation, all of that sort of lends itself towards the legitimacy of the document. If it looks like 2 different page types, or like if there aren't page numbers at the bottom, if things aren't signed properly, if it looks funky, that just all contributes to a general idea that this doesn't look very legitimate. And right. So you don't necessarily want to have a legal document look wrong. And how would you know if you're not a lawyer and if you're not working with legal documents all the time? You might think that it looks fine. But in the eyes of the court and in the eyes of lawyers who are looking to prove their legitimacy or illegitimacy, now you have a different issue.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's a big one, is that they're standard documents. They look like crap. And they just might not have all the things. And so number 2 is that these documents might not be as up to date as they need to be. They most likely will not be totally keeping up with changing laws, changing practices. One of the things here that we have that's really helpful is that we have such a robust litigation department that we are looking at poorly written documents all day long that is stemming litigation. And so we are always cross-referencing that to our documents to see how we can improve. That's why it's called the practice of law. We haven't perfected it yet, but I think you're close, Kirsten.
I don't think so. But we are always really fastidiously working on it. Another element is that the basic documents are not going to include some really important ways that you can protect yourself. Let's take this simple will. So a simple will in Wisconsin has about 5 or 6 requirements in order for it to be considered to be valid under Wisconsin law. On top of that, Wisconsin law allows for you to do what's called a self-proving affidavit, and that's where the witnesses are in the room and they're saying, "I'm viewing this personally. It is a free and voluntary act. It's being not done with undue influence. The person is over the age of 18, of sound mind, and under no other sorts of constraints." And so when those items are attested to in an affidavit that accompanies the will, that sort of does some magical things in terms of the legitimacy of that will. I do not believe I've ever seen a document off the internet that provides that additional support in terms of a will. So even that is something that is important to consider.
And one of my favorite things with that, if we can just do a quick sidebar, is one of the requirements is that the person is over the age of 18. I always love asking my clients to get their IDs out. Like they're at the grocery store buying alcohol.
Right.
Because all of our clients are like in their 60s and 70s. Like, make sure you get your ID out for the witnesses because they need to verify you're over the age of 18. And they're like, oh, please, I'm over the age of 18.
Yeah. You don't really make them do that, do you?
No. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
But
okay. Well, the second reason that you probably should not be getting your estate planning off the internet is, the third reason is that there's no one who is going to explain the documents to you and walk you through the particular decisions that need to be made and the impact of those decisions. So, for example, when you name a personal representative, do you really know what that means? Do you really know what those duties are? Do you really know who it is that you should be choosing to do that? Talking that through with an attorney and understanding what all of the implications of that is very important. Also, making sure that who it is that you're bequeathing certain items to. There's a lot of errors that are made in wills, especially things like, oh, I'm going to will this particular bank account to this individual. How do you know that you're going to have that bank account? How do you know that that bank isn't going to go belly up? How do you know it's not going to be bought out? And then all of a sudden, everybody is scratching their head looking at this bank account, not even knowing where it's located and also what's inside of it, what should be inside of it. And so all of those things should be addressed with an attorney so that there's a clear understanding as to what the best practices are to avoid confusion.
Yeah, and let me give you an example of that. I had a client that came through. They have 2 children that they like, 2 kids they don't talk to. And so he came through and he was 100% gung ho. I am leaving my kids that I don't talk to, I'm leaving them 1 penny. That's what I want to do. If he had gone online, they wouldn't have cared. There wouldn't have been a flag say, you probably shouldn't do this. So I talked to him. I said, what did your kids do? How do you really feel about it? Counseled them through it. And he said, and at the end, he goes, yeah, I should probably just be equal. That would probably be best for the whole family. And so that counseling point, you're not going to get that by getting a document online.
Absolutely agree. And I can think of so many other examples where people come in thinking that they want to do something. And we have the legal to say, okay, I understand your heart in this. I understand what your intentions are, but we have to go about that a different way. There is a better way to get to your goal without running into these particular potholes along the way. So that's really where that good counseling comes into play. It is very important.
For sure. And so the fourth reason that you shouldn't get an estate plan off the internet is that there's a chance that some of these documents might have language that just won't hold up in court, especially if they're challenged. The people who make these documents on the internet, most of the time, they make a one-size-fits-all document, throw it up there, boom. Don't make any updates to it. Don't monitor the laws. Don't take continuing ed and keep checking. Don't have a litigation practice. And so, will they hold up in court? Who knows? Will this even work in my state? Who knows?
Yeah, you can. I've seen people pick literally the wrong template because they're living in a state other than the state that they picked up the wrong template for. These things are not clear on the internet, and that every state has their own approach to drafting a will and even to, the particular trust language. There can be a whole other vocabulary that is being used. Like a really favorite one of mine is, do we have executors in Wisconsin? The answer is no. We have personal representatives. So if you've got a will that says my executor will be blah blah blah, then it's likely coming from a different state. And how do you know that there is a way to transpose all of that into Wisconsin terms? So again, these are the things you would not know if you are not practicing this type of law. And I think the last reason is we do a great job here of making sure that we've got our documents on electronic form, in an actually hard copy form, and then we give an original and a copy to our clients. So that's a backup system. The backup system is in place. So if for some reason the estate plans are lost or destroyed in that are with the client, we have the ability to support them in getting them other documents that have been done, executed in our presence. And so that really is the issue, right? If you do a will on your own, or if you try to do a trust on your own, how can you ensure that that document is not going to just simply be destroyed in favor of probate laws?
Right. And also, too, if there's any follow-up questions, if there's any follow-up issues, if there's any follow-up concerns, who do you ask? If you got one of these documents online, there's really nobody to ask. The amount of times that we've explained things to people, and then maybe it goes in one ear out the other, or maybe it's some complicated for them and they just needed me to explain it to them again. Not a problem. I always tell people, call me. If anything ever pops up in your head at any point, call me, email me. I'll walk you through the whole thing. I've had to walk clients through the same exact thing multiple times, and my goal is to walk them through it until they understand it.
Yeah.
And so if you get your stuff online, you don't have that luxury. You also really don't know what you're signing. What if you don't know something that's on the trust or that's on the will that you're signing? You're probably going to sign it anyway. Also, just a side thing that I've noticed with a lot of these, they substitute actual substantive things with just legal jargon. I don't know if you've noticed that.
No.
They use a lot of hithertos and wherefores and bequests and all these words that you don't need to use. That's why some of our documents are longer than they need to be. It's because if they used all these fancy, stupid legal terms, the documents would be 10 pages. But we want to make our documents readable to actual human beings. The term that they like to use is non-lawyers. I like to use the term actual regular person, because we're not regular people. So that is a big thing. If there's any follow-up questions, any counseling that needs to get done, it's not going to get done from one of these online companies. You can try to reach out to them, but the chances are they're like, oh, well, we're not licensed in your state. We really can't give you legal advice.
So all of that to say, we are here to protect your today and your tomorrow. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.